Well, the Senate Finance Committee has pushed back today's scheduled vote on health care reform. The committee is waiting for an estimate on just how much reform might actually cost. So joining us now is Bloomberg's contributing editor on health care, Roger Altman. He was Deputy Treasury Secretary under President Clinton, and he's currently chairman of Evercore Partners. Thanks so much for coming in to our new studios today. When you hear about that delay in the vote, delay in discussion because they're waiting on the price tag, what's your expectation? I mean, do you think that price may be the make it or break it for a health care bill?
Well, first of all, I think when all is said and done, there is going to be a bill, and it's going to be a bill that is along the lines of the Senate Finance Committee markup that we now see on the table. If CBO determines that the cost of the bill is higher, for example, than the $900 billion, which has been discussed in recent weeks, then there'll have to be some changes in the bill. But I think the basic outlines of that bill are going to first get out of the Senate Finance Committee, pass it, and resemble closely the final legislation after all is said and done, and it will be a very turbulent process between now and then. It'll take quite a few weeks. But this product that we're about to see will closely resemble the final one.
There was some conversation coming out of yesterday when the president spoke about health care as to the senators standing around them and their personal position on the public option. That seems to be really the key point that the headlines have focused on. Is that going to get done? Is there going to be a public option?
It's very hard to tell right now. If you made me bet, I would bet a little money against it. But it's very, very fluid. As you know, Speaker Pelosi and the House leadership have said we can't have a bill which does not include a public option. Some of the leading senators in the committee and in the Senate as a whole, like Senator Schumer, Senator Wyden, have said a public option has to be in there also. Senator Reid, very notably, I thought, over the weekend said there will be a public option in the final Senate bill. It's very, very, very fluid. Remember how many steps there are to go in this process. You have the Senate Finance Committee, you have the full Senate, you have the House, of course, which has to pass a final bill. Then, of course, you have the conference. Then the conference report, assuming they can agree on one, has to go back to the Senate and be passed there, and go back to the House and be passed there. So we're still in the early stages of this process, even though it's taken a long time. Some of the most important stages are yet to come.
And can we maintain the momentum is going to be a question many have asked since we've talked just so much about this in the public space. As former Treasury Secretary, when you hear concern about the deficit because of levels of spending like this, there also comes up conversation about the dollar. Today, a lot of concern about dollar weakness and the lack of voice by this administration about lending to dollar strength, particularly at the World Bank, IMF meetings. When you see the world questioning whether or not the dollar is going to remain the reserve currency, what's your reaction?
I don't think there's any doubt that the dollar is going to remain the primary reserve currency around the world for the foreseeable future. I really don't think there's any doubt about that. And the reason is, Margaret, there is no alternative to the dollar. For example, I met yesterday with a very senior member of the Chinese leadership, just a private meeting. We discussed this. Of course, it's an obvious topic. And he said to me, from the point of view of China and China's enormous dollar reserves, that there is, quote, no alternative to the dollar from the point of view of diversifying in a very major way, at least, away from the dollar.
So a basket of currencies, as was speculated overnight in terms of how to price oil, wouldn't be an option either.
I don't think that's an option over the foreseeable future. Where we are 10 or 15 years from now, no one knows. But in terms of the status of the dollar as the primary reserve currency for the foreseeable future, I see no change in that. Moreover, the issues around the dollar, I think, are not so much what the OPEC will do or the oil-producing countries will do, but rather the more fundamental questions, which have to do with the economic outlook in the United States, of course, the fiscal picture in the United States, which is a very threatening one, and all of that. I think those factors are going to be more important to the trading levels of the dollar, at least over the medium and longer term, than speculation about whether a basket of currency replaces the dollar as the reserve currency, because it's not going to.
It's not going to. All right. Thank you so much, Roger Altman, for coming
Pleasure.
into studio, for talking to us on healthcare and the dollar today.